Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you so much for joining us once again here on the channel. We are here to discuss tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. We are just 6 days away from the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, and they offered us this go-home show for Monday Night Raw, and it was a little less than admirable, and we are here to talk about all of it right here and right now on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, gang, thank you once again so much for joining me here tonight on this edition of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show as we begin year number 2 with episode number 1, our Monday Night Raw review leading into SummerSlam. I am your host, Nick Nightmare. This, as always, is the heavyweight champion of microphones, Blue the Snowball. And if you guys missed it earlier today, me and Blue, we posted our 1 year anniversary special. Today is actually our 1 year anniversary. So we did a special video. Year 1 is H, or year 1-ish, whichever one you want to call it, up there live for your viewing pleasure. And we hope you guys take a look at that if you have not already. Thank you once again so much to all of my subs, all of my fans, all of you guys who have made this such a badass fucking year right here on Sledgehammer TV for the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Thank you guys so much. So let's get into tonight's show, because before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, let's talk a little bit about some stats. Like I tell you guys in that year 1 episode, I'm a big numbers guy, and I was just thinking, as most people on the Raw creative team do not do, and I came to the realization that we all know Monday Night Raw is a dreadful 3 hours long, okay? Now, let's take an average of 20 minutes per match. If you averaged out each match to have a duration of 20 minutes, you could have 9 matches take place within the span of 3 hours. That's a little much for each match, but let's take the average down to 15. Consequently, you could have 12 matches on one night's card at a 15-minute average per match. Obviously, you don't want to have every single match have the same match length. You need to add variety and differentiate the matches and give the talent time to tell whatever story it is they're trying to tell. But tonight, on Monday Night Raw, we had five matches in a 3-hour time span, and none of them lasted much longer than 10 minutes. Which means within 3 hours of broadcast TV, you gave us 50 minutes, give or take, and as I think is being generous, of actual wrestling on what is supposed to be the #1 wrestling show in the world. And that just does not sit well with me. So for that reason alone, this was a real shitty go-home show. I just don't understand the logic behind long, drawn-out promotions and backstage segments that don't matter and in-ring segments that don't matter, and so much time tonight really given to commercial segments. I felt like it was very commercial heavy tonight. Maybe it was just me because the show was getting a little bit to me after the first hour. Admittedly, for this guy, the first hour of Raw tonight was great. We started out with Ambrose and Rollins. Now, this has been by far the most interesting storyline on Monday Night Raw for the last few months. It really didn't start off too well, but it started to pick up steam when they decided to start this teaming aspect and have this little Shield reunion, mini Shield reunion, if you want to call it that, and pair these two guys together. And the back and forth that has been going on between them culminated tonight. And it was absolutely electric. The Boston crowd was fucking great tonight. They really were. They showed themselves where they needed to be shown. They didn't really try to steal the show too much. They seemed to genuinely be enjoying tonight's show. And I don't fault them for that. In a live environment, you can get caught up in the worst of shows. But this was not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, this was an absolutely fantastic segment. The two former WWE champions put their cards on the table and threw hands in an explosive confrontation at the opening of Raw, bringing their years of tension and resentment to a head after several weeks of tepidly received olive branches, like we were just talking about. So it was easy to see why Cesaro and Sheamus decided to attack their rivals after the brawl left both men depleted at ringside. Only Ambrose and Rollins surprised everybody by driving the Raw Tag Team Champions back as one, and a Shield fist bump would unite the two. And given that the Raw General Manager Kurt Angle immediately sanctioned a tag team title match between the two duos at SummerSlam, it just might be time to believe in the Shield once more. This whole fucking segment was great. The way WWE.com summed it up right there that I just read to you, because I didn't read it before I started the broadcast. I just pulled up the results. And that was a bullshit way to describe how fucking awesome it was. Dean Ambrose is finally starting to almost come out of his shell. The electricity in his veins. That's the best way I could put it. It was just, you could feel it. You could feel it through your TV. It was in the crowd. It was in their eyes. It was in their motions. It was in their delivery of their lines tonight. It didn't seem so scripted. You could see that they kind of went off the cuff. I think there was a direction they were supposed to go, and they were trying to stay on script, but Seth Rollins was obviously flubbing some lines, but they got the point across. I'm not going to nitpick on little things that I picked up and noticed. All I'm going to say is this opening segment set the tone for what I thought was going to be a great night of Raw. I thought maybe we were going to steer the ship in the right direction finally for once. And it did continue, because following this segment, we would have the number one contendership match between Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. In Sasha Banks' hometown, most people automatically assumed that the hometown jinx was in effect and she was going to lose, and we would have Alexa versus Nia at SummerSlam, but that would make no sense. And they have invested so much time in the last few weeks in this Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss feud. The online interactions and the social media interactions that have been happening between the two, it's just really been bubbling under the surface. And there is this underlying, Sasha Banks and Alexa really don't get along in real life, somewhat like people used to believe Brett and Shawn didn't get along, and they didn't for a while, but that for a very long time before then they were colleagues and they worked together very well. But in this case, there seems to be heat from an injury a long time ago during their NXT days where Alexa Bliss hurt Sasha Banks and did not apologize. She inadvertently hurt Sasha Banks in a match and failed to acknowledge or apologize or check up on her. I don't know what the real deal of the situation is. All I know is that it's a great building block, and it has that real life tension behind it, and it's got people talking. It's got people interested, and I think this is a great match. The Goddess will end up going up against the Boss. This match was great. I thought it was great for a women's match. They gave it more time than I thought. It was littered with commercials. But in the time that they allowed me to see this evening's festivities, in this particular match, Sasha Banks was great. Nia Jax looked dominant and strong. I hate the fact that she had to lose this match. I think this would have been much better served if Emma was placed in that position. If you were going to have her come out tonight on Raw before SummerSlam and lose to Mickie James for absolutely no reason, you could have had her lose in a more high-profile situation with something on the line so that you could build her character and this she doesn't like how she's being treated angle in that direction. But no, instead you want to take your monster woman who should be dominating everything and anything she touches, but has, very much like Bray Wyatt, become accustomed to having her shoulders on the mat, despite the fact that she's one of the best that they have at doing what they do. It's unfortunate how Nia Jax is, and her character is being sacrificed. That being said, fantastic match between these two. I really loved the end segment where Sasha Banks had the bank statement locked in, and Nia Jax used her strength to try to crawl to the ropes and get that bottom rope, and Sasha would have the whereabouts and the smarts to lock that arm up and get it away from the ropes, and she had her in a predicament where she almost had no choice but to tap. But the big monstrous Amazon woman would stand up with the tiny little Sasha Banks, which all in all is not that impressive, because Sasha Banks weighs 20 pounds soaking wet, and Nia Jax, like I said, is a woman beast. A very beautiful woman beast. I don't mean beast in a negative way. But she lifted her up very, very easily, and then, upon trying to throw her off, would end up getting a spinning DDT from the boss, and then end up back in the bank statement, forcing the big lady to tap out, and we will have the goddess versus the boss at SummerSlam. And I'm just saying, a goddess is greater than a boss, no matter how legit said boss may be. I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be, if given time and booked properly, it could be one of the show-stealing matches. Sasha Banks can go, and Alexa Bliss has absolutely come into her own in this last year. And I expect this to be a very, very good match for the Raw Women's Championship. After this I sigh and I hesitate because I'm not really sure exactly how I feel about this just yet, because they did so much with this particular storyline in this 3 hours that I don't know if they're really just writing things on the fly and changing things up, or if this was the tentative plan, why they would wait so long to build the intrigue of the return of the demon Finn Balor. Now, Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt would get caught up in a backstage skirmish that would be broken up by the Raw General Manager, Kurt Angle, and he would tell them that we would not have to wait for SummerSlam, and they would face off tonight in the ring. I didn't like this decision, and I immediately took to Twitter and I said the only way I would even accept this match in the slightest would be if Finn Balor loses and it would prompt him to bring out the Demon King. I don't want the Demon King. I don't even know why I said that, because fucking WWE's got my brain poisoned. I hate the Demon King. I just love the Demon Finn Balor. But I feel like this is a very missed opportunity. And I even tweeted out to some of my colleagues on Twitter. I didn't really get a response back, but it's a busy night on a Monday night. I don't really expect much response back. That I don't believe this would have happened if SummerSlam was sold out. Like, if SummerSlam had sold out weeks ago, there would have been no demon on Monday Night Raw. Mention of the demon on Monday Night Raw tonight. I don't agree with it at all in hindsight. Like, I figured that this would be the only thing that would give it credibility of having this match tonight, is to bring out the demon for SummerSlam. But the fact that you announced it before the end of the night and you had the graphic ready to go just makes it seem lame. I don't even know the right word to describe it. It's just fucking lame. It's like you've been making us wait, and you didn't even tease it. You didn't tease it at all. You didn't get people wondering about it. You didn't build any intrigue towards it. You just threw it at us. All right, well, you have Finn and Bray doing this mind game thing over the last few weeks, and now Bray Wyatt gets the upper hand, and 6 days before we get mention of the Demon, and there will be no further interaction between the two of them until then. On the one hand, I don't mind it because it's the Demon Finn Balor, which I have been saying on the show, where has he been? There have been high-profile matches that he probably could have pulled the Demon out for. In this scenario, I don't think this is one of those matches. I don't really believe that Bray Wyatt has pushed him to a point where he needs to bring out the Demon. And although I am accepting of it and I will enjoy it, I'm sure, I don't see the value in the Demon right now against this particular opponent. This is something he should be bringing out in a match against the likes of Braun Strowman or against the likes of Samoa Joe. We've seen Samoa Joe versus the Demon. It wouldn't be his first time against the Demon, and it would build more intrigue. That's how they did it in NXT. You didn't see the Demon all the time, but you seen him enough that you weren't sitting back wondering where the fuck it was. You understand what I mean? If they would just follow that mold, everything would be great on Raw. But it's like NXT doesn't even exist, and they don't even care about what they're doing, no matter how great it is or how much it works, because they think it's a smart mark show. And it's not. It's the best wrestling show that the WWE is putting on, hands down. And they don't follow that particular mold for whatever reason. And whoever's behind it needs to go. Speaking of NXT, and a nice little segue, after this we would have Elias in the ring. I still will call him Elias Sampson. I don't care. And he starts off singing this beautiful song to the crowd, telling everybody they are disgusting, that this town is disgusting. I fucking love Elias Sampson. Alright, he's old school heel, he's fantastic. This segment would be ruined by the entrance of R-Truth, and I would be greatly entertained at the fact that he would be silenced immediately by Elias, and we wouldn't have to hear much from R-Truth at all. Elias putting the former tag team champion to rest, and we will see where they plan to go with this Elias character. I love it, which means they're probably going to ruin it for me at some point, but always glad to see Elias Sampson. Would have been much more excited to have seen him in a match. Perhaps maybe give him 10 minutes with some guy, maybe even R-Truth, and give him a good win, a nice clean win, after he sings a beautiful ballad song telling everybody how disgusting they are. That's how I would have booked Elias Sampson tonight. Not just in there and, hey, this guy will come out and you just smack him around and then it'll be over. Then we would have the storyline on Raw that I hate the most right now, Enzo versus Big Cass. Because Enzo's not facing Big Cass, but essentially that's what this feud is. It's Enzo versus Cass. But substituting Enzo with the Big Show. So you have Big Cass versus Big Show. The battle of the bigs. I don't fucking care. I don't care who's going to be in a shark cage. I don't care that Gallows and Anderson came up tonight and helped out Big Cass for some reason after they've been in feuds with him for months and months and months, and would just come out and start to destroy the Big Show and break the Big Show's hand. Do I really care? No. Is the Big Show going to not be at SummerSlam? No. He's going to be there. He's insisting on being there in some capacity, and somehow, some way, this is going to lead to Enzo getting involved in the match and probably costing the Big Show the match at the end in SummerSlam. We'll talk a little bit more about my feelings on that on the preview and prediction show, which will be coming up this weekend. And this whole segment was just a waste. I mean, I love Enzo when he comes out. He's very entertaining. I wish he would have put some real clothes on. I don't know why he had to come out on Raw in his pajamas. But, that's what the guy felt like doing. How you doing? I'm in my pajamas. How you doing? So, cuts a good promo, makes fun of Kaz, because one of the biggest problems I have with this whole segment is by giving Kaz the microphone and giving him control in the opening of this segment, you glaringly show the world how much he's not ready for the spotlight, because he couldn't even get his freaking line out. He let the crowd get to him. You could say, oh no, he was playing with him. He wasn't, because he was trying to get his line out and he would flub it. And it was so bad that when Enzo came out, it was the first thing he did was make fun of Big Cass and how he was trying to fucking talk about this Sunday and what was going to happen at SummerSlam. But definitely a lot of work needed for the big man from right here in Queens, New York. I just have no interest in it. I want it to be over. I want them to go their separate ways. And with what happens next on Monday Night Raw, my plans for Enzo Amore kind of go right in the shitter. Because the king of the cruiserweights would defend the Cruiserweight Championship tonight against the number one contender, Akira Tozawa. And in the 110th time Michael Cole can say SummerSlam comes early tonight, we would have this match take place on Monday Night Raw instead of Sunday at SummerSlam. And Titus Worldwide would acquire its first championship as Akira Tozawa would dethrone the King of the Cruiserweights in what would be a great match. It's not about the match. My complaint in this department is simply, do they really not value the Cruiserweights that much to give them the tiniest little spot in SummerSlam? At the same time, yes, I understand, guys. I understand we can't have 17 matches. We can't have a fucking 8-hour pay-per-view. The fact of the matter is, this pay-per-view, even though it's the second biggest one of the year, shouldn't even come close to the amount of wrestling that we get at WrestleMania, because if all of the big four pay-per-views are the same amount of time, there is really no biggest show of the year. And that's what makes WrestleMania special. So you need to cut down the card. I understand that. But that's why you have a pre-show. The pre-show should not be there so that we can listen to Renee Young interview people that we don't want to fucking hear from. I don't mind Renee Young. You know, she's beautiful and she's witty and she's funny, but I don't need to hear her opinion on every match that I'm about to watch tonight. Nor do I need to hear her bouncing off of Jerry the King Lawler, or asking questions to Jeremy Roberts, or Pete Rosenberg, if that's his fucking name, from Bring It to the Table. I don't need to hear this. This is 2 hours of pre-show that you should be filling with wrestling that you can't put on the main card. For the people that are arriving early so that they can sit there and have something to watch. For the people that are watching the pre-show. Because you know why we watch the pre-show? For the matches that are on the pre-show. If you're one of the people that watch the pre-show, that's why you watch the pre-show. You're not watching the pre-show to hear the analysis. Because the analysis is garbage. And 9 out of 10 times, it's just them reading the corporate script and saying what needs to be said. And trying to sell the show. So why not take 10, 15 minutes out of some of that bullshit scripted stuff of the pre-show and insert a Cruiserweight Championship match? You don't think that's worth a little bit more time? You don't think that's more worth time than having to hear nonsense bullshit talking? Or 5,000 commercials for a show that's going to come on in 5 minutes? I'm watching the pre-show on the network. How many commercials for SummerSlam can you show during the pre-show? It's just fucking retarded. I don't even know why I just went so hard on that and why I went in so deep. But it's just something that it bothers me. This is supposed to be a championship match, and the impact of Tozawa's win at an event like SummerSlam makes it 10 times more special. And what makes Tozawa the guy as opposed to Austin Aries, I'll never know. Austin Aries was definitely being built to be the man to dethrone the Cruiserweights. But then that ship sailed in another direction, and we lost the greatest man that ever lived. And now we have Akira Tozawa as a champion. My issue with it is not him being the champion. I just don't understand building Neville over 200 plus days to have him lose the title on Raw to a challenger who he's barely built any real feud up against. If you're not watching 205 Live, which I'm really not, you have no idea about what's going on between these two guys. You haven't showed us any history between them. You've only showcased it in any way through Titus Worldwide, so nobody really gives a shit about it. It's just a terrible way to feature the Cruiserweight Championship. If you were going to do it, why not do it on 205 Live? Do it tomorrow night. Make a championship change on the show where the championship is the feature attraction. How about them apples, Will? Huh? Give me a fucking break. Anyway, new champion, Tozawa. We'll have to see where they go with that. If they go anywhere. Not that it's going to really straighten out in any way. It's the Cruiserweight division. Who the fuck cares? Really, who cares? Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt go one-on-one after this Cruiserweight match. And, again, good match. Didn't go very long, but it was a good match. However, it's not without its faults like everything else. This match was... How could I describe it in an accurate way? It was very one-sided. Bray Wyatt was very much the dominant force in this match. And you kind of seen it coming. Because in order for us to believe the arrival of the Demon, even though it wasn't announced at that point, if you're anything like me, you could feel it coming. Finn has to lose, and he has to lose bad. Why, like I said, this didn't happen weeks ago, I'll never know. But the whole end thing, where he brings out his Phineas Godwin bucket, which is new. I don't remember seeing Bray Wyatt use a Phineas Godwin bucket, and pour over poor Finn Balor the red blood. The word you idiots were looking for is blood. It is not an acidic, viscous liquid. What the fuck is that? Do we all go to chemistry class right now? No. Some of us haven't gone to school in almost 22 fucking years. And don't really use the words like viscous. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You can't say blood. You can't say the word blood. Everybody has blood. Everybody bleeds blood. You don't do it intentionally. But, you know, my 5-year-old scrapes her knees. She bleeds. Daddy, what's that? It's a viscous liquid. It's an acidic, viscous, red substance. No, that's blood, baby. You're 5 years old. You know what blood is. Are you fucking kidding? Viscous liquid. Fuck you, Michael Cole, and your script that you have to read. Whoever thought of that really needs to be fired. Or take their little SAT prep book away from them, because they don't need to be looking up antonyms for fucking simple words like blood. Synonyms. I'm sorry. See, they got me all hyped up. I can't even remember my fucking proper grammar. Look at that. So, Bray Wyatt defeats the Demon. Covers him in blood. And the Demon will now arrive at SummerSlam. To which they decided to hype it on tonight's Monday Night Raw, which brings the element of surprise out of it, which makes the whole moment gone. There is no moment here, because everybody now knows that the Demon is coming. So when the music hits and the lights are red now, and you hear the and the whole shit, and you see him start crawling towards the ring, there is zero excitement, because you know. Imagine he just went back to Kurt Angle and said, listen, I know we wanted to do this tonight. I came out on the short end of the stick. I want a rematch. We were supposed to fight at SummerSlam. Let me fight at SummerSlam. Fine, Finn Balor, you got your rematch. We'll see you on Sunday, and leave it at that. That's it. So now everybody's going to just expect a rematch. And then you have him come out in the paint. But no, we have to announce it. And what would be the only reason for that, like I said a little bit earlier? Ticket sales. They can't fill the SummerSlam venue, the Barclays Center. So they need to announce something to get those last minute ticket sales. I can't get 2 seats next to each other, though, when I go look for the tickets that are now available. So good luck to the rest of you who are trying to get into SummerSlam and want to maybe bring a friend. If you want to go by yourself, you probably have no problem. And I just might do that, but I might not either. Because I don't know if this SummerSlam card is really going to be worth having to go and attend. Which I know NXT will be worth attending, and we will be there live. So don't forget to keep your eyes open for us in the crowd that night. After this, we had, like I mentioned before, this ridiculous, useless, throwaway match between Mickie James and Emma, because Emma was talking about how she tweets in the back, and Mickie James is like, oh, I don't care about your tweets, and then Emma's like, oh, well, whatever, and then there's a fucking match. That's pretty much how my brain remembers it, because it was stupid. It was nonsense. There was nothing behind it. They're fighting over a backstage argument over Twitter. Fucking great. Would have been much better to have Emma in that situation against Sasha, building both characters simultaneously. Emma would have built herself and made herself look good even with the loss in that situation. In the loss to Mickie James, she just looks like a schlub. And conversely, Mickie James could have fought Nia Jax and maybe put over the big lady, and it would have been better. It would have been much better. The only thing I'll give them on this night is that they didn't take all the women and just throw them in one match. Thank God. And that's it for the women's division tonight. Alexa Bliss sat upon a beach chair, looking very lovely, as she watched over Sasha Banks and Nia Jax earlier in the evening, and that was the last we would see of the women's champ. Then we would have the end match, the last match of the night, which was supposedly Jason Jordan versus The Miz, but then The Miz Taraj would get involved, which would prompt the Hardys to get involved, and now we have a 6-man tag. And it was a decent 6-man tag. Everybody loves to see the Hardys going at it. I think that The Miz Taraj kind of looked pretty good. You know, I hate it still. I think Bo Dallas looks ridiculous in this group. I think Curtis Axel doesn't look very good in this group. It's not really coming off the way I was hoping. Actually, I wasn't hoping it would come off at all. I hoped it would fail and that they would just disband this thing, but The Miz is a beast, and he's going to get this gimmick to work, and, you know, their look's changing a little bit more week after week. Maybe they will reach a point that I will finally begin to care. But as of right now, The Miz Taraj still, to me, is just fucking no-see TV. I don't need to see them. It's not must-see to me. And in the end, did it even matter? Because who wins this match? The Hardy Boys win this match. They showed signs once again of being broken. They talked about Matt Hardy's new enlightenment and saying words like awoken, which people don't even think is in the dictionary, and I will have to look into that. I didn't do that before the show, so I don't know if it's actually a word. I know awakened is a word, and I know that you would say, I awoke to the sound of this and that. You don't say awoken. I was awoken. I was awakened. So awoken, I think, maybe might be the new broken. I don't know, whatever. We'll see where they go with that. This will, again, useless, meaningless 6-man tag team match. We're going to have the one-on-one between The Miz and Jason Jordan at SummerSlam, and that is going to be that. On that note, this kid is going to probably get destroyed in Brooklyn. Because this is not Jason Jordan of American Alpha. This is Jason Jordan Angle. This is a new thing you're doing that nobody's getting behind. And the Brooklyn fans, even though they cheered him excessively when he was in American Alpha, they're going to go one way or they're going to go the other. And I have a feeling they're going to go the other. I don't think they're going to be all for Jason Jordan in this match, but I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. It's not going to be a first time, but, you know, that's just what I feel. I feel like this crowd's going to shit all over this kid as soon as he walks through the crowd at SummerSlam this Sunday. The end of this show was absolutely fucking ridiculous. With the exception, as always, of Paul Heyman's absolutely fantastic promo where he built up each and every one of the opponents to sound like a viable contender, as only he can do, while Brock Lesnar stood next to him, smiling and smirking. And then you would have one at a time, each contender come out, starting with Samoa Joe, and you could just tell when Joe gets in the ring. You could just tell, but there's something between Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe. I don't know what it is that I even feel, but when they're in the ring together, it's almost like if you got two Rottweilers. You got two male Rottweilers and you put them in a pen. Even if they're brothers in that particular scenario, they're going to start to, like, bow up, and, like, this is my cage, like, back up. And it just feel that tension between them just by their mere presence around each other. Brock and Joe is fucking money. And it was beautiful. And Samoa Joe came out and said his piece, and then Braun Strowman would come out and he would say his piece, and then of course Roman would come out, and thankfully he didn't say a fucking word because he would have gotten booed out of the building anyway, and WWE was at least smart enough in this booking decision to know, get him out there and just get the chaos started. He would end up attacking Samoa Joe. They would end up outside the ring as a non-issue, strangely enough, for what was about to happen, which was a confrontation between between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, which is something that we are all highly anticipating in the WWE Universe. And this segment would now turn into rerun night on Monday Night Raw, as they would do exactly, almost move for move, what they did with Samoa Joe leading into Great Balls of Fire, with the pull-apart brawl and the security going flying, all the way down to Kurt standing there signaling for the fucking roster to come out and help. Same old shit. We just seen this a little bit over 4 weeks ago. We're not stupid, and some of us may be drunk sometimes, but we don't forget. Wrestling fans don't forget. We don't have a short-term memory, and we know what we saw, especially when it's not even that far away. It's just a few weeks ago you did this angle on the same show. It's not even like you did it on SmackDown. You did it on fucking Raw to do the same exact thing, to put over a colossal clash between two monstrous opponents. You couldn't come up with a different way to go about that. And then to have Roman and Joe just rolling around on the floor outside, it's just fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. This match is between 4 men, so there is no reason why it should have been focused on 2 at the end of tonight's Monday Night Raw. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Those are my criticisms of tonight's show. We went a little long because Monday Night Raw is fucking long, so there was a lot to fucking talk about. And yeah, it went off here and I went off there, but it is what it is. Monday Night Raw was a fucking chore, and it makes me doing this show a fucking chore. And I love this show. I love doing this show. I love sitting here talking to you fuckers and talking about it all. And I love hearing your comments and seeing what you have to say about everything that I'm talking about right down there in the comments below. You know what else I love? I love when you guys hit that thumbs up, and I wish you would do that for me. You could do it right now while I do this. If we synced it perfectly, then you're fucking aces with me, because all I want is thumbs up. And if you have not joined on to this amazing, amazing community that we are building here in and around Sledgehammer TV, on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show specifically, I've got some of the best fans. And, I don't have a lot of them, but the ones that I do have right now, as we begin our journey going into year number 2, you guys are fucking amazing. And I can't thank you enough. Everything that you guys give to me has been way better than everything that the WWE has been given to me, especially in and around the last year. Special shout outs to my friends Mrs. C, Mr. C. I love you guys. I miss seeing you guys, and I hope to see you guys very, very, very soon. Mr. Nate Reynolds, thank you, man. You're one of the fucking best subs that I have. Ronnie S., my very, very first fucking sub. He has been with me from the very beginning. He deserves special recognition over here. I should have did this on the special. Really, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I have done this on the on the year one special? I didn't do that because, and the reason why these names are coming to the forefront of my mind, especially in this particular moment, is because I have my screen up where everybody's congratulating me on making it to year one. Tony Manfredi, Ronnie, Aaron, all you guys, you're fucking awesome. And if I missed your name, it's not because I don't love you. I love each and every one of you. I'm just going by what I see off the list right now. And I'm fucking tired. It's been a long, dreadful night through Raw. It is getting late, as it usually is on the show on Monday night. And we have got to go. We are going to call it on that. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am Nick Nightmare. This is Blue, the World Heavyweight Champion of Microphones, the Snowball Microphone. And we are out of here. And thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Right here on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.